right, guys, welcome to the show. I have a great guest here tonight, hanging out, talking a little bit about fitness and his career and sports and whatnot. He's a football fan, so we might dive into a little bit of football discussion, even though his Ravens beat my Panthers, and you guys have Steve Smith now, so I'm still a little sad about that. We're missing old Steve. But anyways, I am here with Matt Dustin. He is a trainer in the Maryland area. He's a fitness coach on Fitocracy and has a class starting next week. Has a great blog at the athleticphysique.com where he tries to combine bodybuilding and athletics into like one general practice and developing people in their fitness journeys on that way. So Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
No problem. Let's get a little background on you, where you're from, how you got into fitness. I mean, I've read your blog a little bit, but for the listeners out there who might go to the blog and check it out, but let's get a little info on who Matt Dustin is.
Okay. Well, I've lived in Maryland my whole life, actually. And I grew up doing different sports. So I played basketball for a lot of my life, and I did martial arts for a while. And then when I got to college, I realized I couldn't keep playing at the collegiate level. But I wanted to stay active. So I got into working out, and I was actually studying business in college. And as I got more and more into fitness and started reading different blogs and websites, and I realized there was a whole industry, I actually decided to switch. So about 3 years into my career in business school, I transferred schools, and I studied exercise science, got my degree in exercise science, and yeah, ever since then, I've just been training, doing different things. And yeah, that's how it got started.
Okay, cool. So you started at business school, which actually is not a bad place to start. You know, it gives you a little background, in how to develop your own business as an entrepreneur. So as an entrepreneur in the fitness world, which is growing and getting online clients, and Fitocracy is helping kind of develop and spur some new people in that. What has been your greatest challenge so far, business-wise, that you didn't expect, as opposed to like fitness-wise?
That's a good question. I think just growing your business in general, online or in a gym. I kind of thought in school, we learned all of the training and anatomy and this and that, and they didn't really tell you how hard it was going to be to find clients when you're done. So there was a whole learning curve where I had to learn a lot about sales and marketing and things like that, where I learned a little bit in business, but I wasn't really expecting to have to use when I got into fitness.
Right.
So that's definitely been a challenge and something I've been trying to grow in for the last few years.
Okay. So when you were in school, and we all remember college, some of those classes that you just didn't care about, and you get kind of bored, and people start to realize, is this really what I want to do? And you kind of had that moment of clarity for yourself. So what was that moment of clarity you had when you realized that business school was just not for you? When did it happen, and what spurred you to move on to something else?
So I'd always been interested in working out, like I said, and then in my head, I thought personal trainers were just these people at the gym who kind of walked around and corrected your form on exercise. So about the time I started to realize there was a whole industry of great coaches and researchers and things like that was when I did my first business and worked in an office for about 3 or 4 months, and I sat in a cubicle and did data entry for the whole summer, and I hated it. Just hated being in the office. Yeah. So I was like, you know what? I don't really want to work at a desk. And, I'd always been interested in science and working with people. That's always been a passion. So decided I was going to give fitness a try. And that's when I made the switch.
All right, cool. Enough on the business. It's just an interesting aspect. I think a lot of people that I've interviewed are still kind of new to. They're kind of like, oh man, like you get excited about helping people and
yeah.
Pushing them on this journey of health and fitness, but at the same time you're like, oh God, there's all business, there's like things I got to do, there's marketing, and it's a little overwhelming. I guess it's kind of like when you're new to a gym as well. You kind of got to take it one step at a time.
Yep.
Next question. So your class you have coming up for Fitocracy, from what I've read about it and what I understand, is it's geared more towards people who've come off dieting.
Yes.
So from my own personal experience, I came off a big, cut for my wedding, and then didn't track anything on my honeymoon. Got home and had gained a lot of weight. Uh, so for people coming off, explain what your program is and what you want to do with this program.
Okay, yeah. So my program is geared towards people who are finishing a diet or have been dieting or in a caloric deficit for a long time. What happens is when you're dieting for a long time and you're losing all this weight, a lot of things change in your body and your metabolism kind of slows down. So your body learns to function on a much, much lower caloric intake because it becomes efficient at what it's doing.
Right.
So then what happens is if you try to go back to your old way of eating right away, if you go back to this high caloric intake and your metabolism is a lot slower than it was before, you're probably going to gain a lot of fat. So my program is designed to be the transition between finishing a diet, or even if you've just been dieting for a long time, back into what would normal eating or higher caloric intake.
Right.
A lot of people talk about reverse dieting and things like that, and that's basically what it is. It's a reverse dieting class.
Okay, so I've done a little research on that word reverse dieting because it kind of sounds bro sciencey in a way. Like at the first time I heard it, I was like, reverse diet, like this just sounds made up. Somebody, come on. But I'm a little familiar with Layne Norton and what he's done. He also has his own podcast, and I've listened to him and studied up a little bit. So can you kind of explain to someone who doesn't understand or who might hear reverse dieting and go, I'm scratching my head on that one. Doesn't really sound logical. Can you kind of explain what that is and how you implement it into your program?
Yeah, absolutely. And Layne is a huge influence on mine, so it's funny you mentioned that. So the basic concept of reverse dieting is that you can slowly increase someone's caloric intake over a period of time, and they can get their body will adjust to that without gaining too much fat. And it's going to be small increments. Maybe 1 week I had 5 or 10 carbs, the next week I had a couple of grams of fat. So very small bumps, but over time, I've seen people get up to eating 400 or 500 grams of carbs without really gaining that much weight. And you might gain a couple pounds, but in the end, if your metabolism is much higher and you have a very high food intake at the end of this period, it's going to be much easier when you want to diet again than if you're still down at your low deficit.
Okay, so let's use, just real quick, we'll use me as an example. So my regimen was in the last like 5 weeks. Workout days, I was like 2,200 calories. Rest days, right at like 1,890, right under 1,900. So let's just use that as an example.
Okay.
Where would you go? So how long would it take me to get back to eating what my maintenance might be at that weight? Because online, if I use some formulas, it might say my weight, my maintenance calories are like 2,600. So if I go back to eating 2,600 calories from that, 2,000, 1,800, 1,900 range, I'm going to gain weight. So how long does it take, and like what's the process? Is it going to be another like 12, 16 weeks?
Yeah, I would say it's going to be at least a couple months. I mean,
Okay.
You could just jump straight back there, but like you said, you're probably gaining a lot of fat. I personally tend to go in jumps of no more than 50 to 100 calories, and then once you make that jump, so you would increase your caloric intake, you would want to give it a week or two to kind of stabilize out and let your body adapt to that before you raise it again. And one thing I think Layne says is if you spend 6 months dieting, you're probably going to spend about 6 months bringing your metabolism back up to where it was. So, that's the approach I've used with my clients and myself, and have had success. So the same rate you would create your caloric deficit, maybe every few weeks, shaving off a couple hundred as you hit plateaus. It's the same with reverse. So add 50 or 100, give it a couple weeks, see what happens to your body weight, and once you stabilize out, add another 50 or 100. And yeah, taking baby steps like that. So it will take some time. If you try to rush it, you might gain a little more body fat than you're hoping. So I would definitely go slow. And again, you might gain a pound or two a month, and that's pretty normal.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, in the
'Cause I
end,
mean,
if you gain a couple pounds, but your metabolism is much higher, and you're eating a lot more food, that's still a net gain.
Agreed. It was very nice when I started not counting on my honeymoon. I was like, all of the haggis. I will eat all
Yeah.
of it, Scotland, all of it. Anyways, all right. So let's get to a good meaty question here. You mentioned success and you seem to have had a lot of success in your life, and I know you and I, from reading your story, have kind of a similar background. We were both kind of the chunky kids, and growing up, we played sports, but we were not like some of the people that played sports and grew up
Right.
jacked. We were a little plumpier, mostly due to me sucking at the sports that I played at, so I sat on the bench.
Same
Um,
here.
so now we both kind of had a level of success in the last few years, kind of getting our bodies in shape and getting to where we want to be. But what are some of the failures that you've had, and how did they shape your resolve?
Wow, that's a great question. I know at first, when I first started trying to get in shape, I used very restrictive diet. So I would try to do the typical bro diet. Every 2 hours I was eating chicken and broccoli and egg whites and things like that. And I would kind of just go crazy and binge eat. So there was a period of time where I'd probably lose 2 or 3 pounds during the week. On the weekend, gain it all back from all the food I ate because I just didn't have the self-control. So that was a big thing for me is learning moderation and learning how to sort of indulge in things, small amounts and not be so extreme with the diet. Um, Besides that, I mean, honestly, I probably spent the first 2 years of my training career just bench pressing because I didn't know what else to do. So I gave myself some issues there, and I had to learn how to train the right way, but nothing super serious.
Okay. So let's say someone signs up for the photography class. Now this class starts Monday, the November 3rd, correct?
Right.
Cool. On Monday, November 3rd, you can learn about some reverse dieting with Matt Dustin and get in on his workouts. So what are those workouts going to entail? Someone who comes in and signs up for this program, what can they expect from Matt Dustin?
So I like to use a lot of compound movements and strength training as the main goal. So a typical workout might have, one or two big compound movements in the beginning, like a bench press or an incline press, and maybe some chin ups or some rows, and then throw in some smaller isolation work. So, whether that's like chest flies or a lat pull down or something, but it's going to be a little bit slower pace, I would say. The focus is definitely going to be on getting stronger, building some muscle, as opposed to some of my fat loss classes, which are more circuit training oriented, a lot more fast paced, high intensity things. This is going to be still going to be intensity, but in your workouts, focus is going to be on strength and muscle building and not, trying to sweat as much as possible and timing your rest and moving quickly, but definitely strength training.
Right. Gotcha. So to kind of piggyback off of that, so let's say someone from this program decides, you know what, I love Matt, I want to keep working with him, and they decide to take you, one on one, and you like to use, from your site, you have a sports background, and you want to combine sports and bodybuilding physique and put them into one.
Right.
So what can someone expect like one on one? So explain to me. I guess what I'm trying to ask is explain to me how you combine sports and bodybuilding into one cohesive unit as a trainer.
Okay. So it really depends on the person's goal. So an athlete, for example, their program is still going to be pretty similar to a typical strength and conditioning program you might see for, an athlete or a sports team or something. But I'll also sprinkle in some physique work. So, maybe like a couple exercises for your arms at the end or some kind of delt work or things like that a lot of strength coaches kind of look down on. Um, that's kind of, the basis for why I want to combine them because, you see coaches like you shouldn't do a bicep curl till you can do 10 chin-ups, and I just don't agree with that. So my athletes will get, some kind of aesthetic training, something that, they're going to enjoy that's going to help develop a nice, well-rounded physique. And on the other hand, the physique trainees or the bodybuilders, I like to get them moving more. Um, so I don't want to use the word functional, but things like chin ups, compound lifts, a lot of the workouts you see in magazines that are awful.
Right.
And I've seen big bodybuilders who struggle to do pull ups or can't run. So, especially with my in-person clients and one-on-one, we program a lot of agility work, conditioning, things like that, moving in different directions. A lot of things training on your feet, not just sitting on machines. So, I would say for sports performance or bodybuilding, that's still going to be the main focus, but it'll have a little sprinkling of the other. And then some people right in the middle, they just want half and half, half bodybuilding, half performance training, and that's cool too.
Cool. Kind of reading through your stuff, I wanted to kind of get in and learn some more sports training. So when you do some sports training, and whether it's with athletes, and I know you train some college athletes, but with like regular clients, do you thinking back to my old when I played basketball, the things I hated to do, do you do like suicides and like what kind of conditioning or physical strength stuff do you do that still uses that maybe LeBron might use or Joe Flacco might use? Do you do those kind of things, or is it more like high intensity interval training that you do?
Yeah, interval training. I'm fortunate to have a pretty cool setup at my gym where we have a big turf strip with a prowler.
Oh.
We have some battling ropes. We have farmer's walk bars. Pretty much all the stuff I'd want to use. So we use a lot of sled work, rowers. Not suicide so much, but yeah, definitely things that are getting off a treadmill or not just sprinting outside. So lateral movements, pulling the sled, pushing the sled. That's big for me. Different things with the slide board, things like that. And then in terms of training, it's again, like I said, kind of getting people off machines. I like a lot of single leg stuff, getting strong with your body weight, compound lifts. Yeah. So that's the kind of stuff that pretty much anyone can benefit from.
Okay. Let's, I'm going to go back to some more of the hardcore, deep, thoughtful questions.
Okay.
What is your next goal that you want to achieve? Either in the gym, like what are you doing right now, or what is your next goal as an entrepreneur and a businessman?
Okay, as an entrepreneur, I would like to grow my business to the point where I don't have to work in the gym. I always still want to work with clients in person because I love that, and I think that's really important. But it'd be cool to be pretty self-sufficient, grow my online business enough to the point where I don't have to work so many hours at my gym. And then in terms of the gym and my training, goal I have kind of long term, but I'm looking at next summer entering a couple men's physique competitions.
Nice.
That's something I've never done before. I've always done the sports side of things, so yeah, probably gonna hire a coach and try and do a couple shows next summer.
Cool. That's I thought about it one time, and then I saw this. There's a great documentary, and I'll link this in the show notes as well on YouTube called "I Want to Look Like That Guy."
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and it just you read things and you see these things, and you're like, oh, that's all I got to do. No, it's a little more intense sometimes. But you've written for some of those sites like Bro Bible and Bodybuilding, and I swear I've probably read that athletic article you wrote for Bodybuilding back in January. I know I probably read it. So as a writer, because I know on your site you talk about you've always been writing,
Yes.
and you had a few blogs that have failed and didn't pan out.
Yes.
What is your favorite non-fitness thing to write about?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I like creative writing. That's always been something I'm interested in. Journalism is cool. I tried that for a little bit in college. So my favorite non-fitness thing to write about, man. I've been so busy writing fitness stuff recently.
I mean, even if it was like a Facebook status where you saw like a movie and you just ripped this movie apart.
I have fun doing, like I said, creative stuff. I like storytelling, so I have an email list. I'm gonna try to make that pretty entertaining and yeah, Facebook statuses. For a while some of the stuff I was doing with Bro Bible was more like review type things and
right.
Definitely not hardcore fitness so much, but just fun. I like to see if I can be an entertaining and kind of funny writer.
And I have laughed at a few of the things you wrote. I'm working on getting better in my own writing, and with the blog that I have up on the website as well. But it's hard to get back on that horse when you've not been doing it for so long.
Yes, it's definitely a skill.
Oh, it is a skill. Definitely a skill. Much like a muscle, you gotta work it. You gotta work it. So who inspires you in the fitness world?
Oh man. So, I mean, some of the guys that I started reading when I first got into this, people that I still to this day follow and have communicated with, like John Romanello is a big influence for me.
Love John. Huge fan of John.
Yeah, he's a great guy, really good writer. Jason Ferrugia is another one. Huge fan of his work. And then on the more technical side, guys like Eric Cressy and Dean Somerset.
Right.
I've been reading them a lot recently because corrective exercise is kind of a weakness for me, and it's very important to know about. So they're
Well,
great
that's
educators.
that's good to know that that you are aware of a weakness in your own training that you are working on.
Yes.
It's I think knowing something like that, even in any aspect of our life, is something everyone struggles with, myself included. Is knowing your weaknesses and how to get better at them. So, who inspires you in the non-fitness world?
Um, I've been on a really big kick of reading Tim Ferriss and Ramit Sethi recently. So 4 Hour Work Week and I Will Teach You to Be Rich.
Yep.
I feel like in
If
my age, the things I'm doing, they really speak to me.
if any listeners out there do not know who Tim Ferriss is, I'll put a link in the show notes. Go check out Tim. Tim has one of the most inspiring podcasts I've ever read. His 4 Hour Body, 4 Hour Work Week, 4 Hour Chef, all of his books. He's a really interesting guy. And
Yeah.
Ramit actually is pretty cool. I enjoyed the banter with those two on a podcast they did. Um,
Yeah. So those are two of my big influences right now.
cool. All right. So, what would you tell 10-year-old Matt to know for the future if you could?
Oh man. That's a hard question. Um, honestly, I would say probably just work a little bit harder. I mean, that sounds weird, but I wasted a lot of time in high school and early years of college just kind of messing around, cramming last minute. Didn't really take it too seriously. And now if I could go back to school and reapply myself and work a little harder and try and get more out of it, I think I'd probably be a little better off. But really, I definitely spent a lot of time not focusing on things that are important, and yeah, like I said, just wasting a lot of time. Playing
Okay.
video games a lot, like partying with
Hey,
my
there's
friends instead of
nothing
going to
wrong with
class.
playing some video games. So
Yeah,
I gotta ask now that you brought up the video games, because I gotta say I love Fitocracy, I really do, and
yeah,
I'm lucky that they have allowed me to call this the unofficial podcast of Fitocracy, working my way up to official, hopefully someday.
yeah.
Wink, wink,
You're good
Brian, if you hear this. But I need some more video game quests and themes and things within like Fitocracy. Uh, so I'll ask, what is your favorite video game of all time?
there. That's a hard question. I'm gonna say Mass Effect 3.
You, sir, just like +7 on the awesome scale on
Yes.
Robbie Farlow's personal scale of awesome.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
I I actually had a separate video game blog for a while and defended Mass Effect 3 with all of the stuff that was going on in the internet with everyone being mad. And I was like, no. These guys wrote a game. They get to decide the real ending.
Yep.
You just get to play the ending. And just like any epic story where you don't like the ending, someone gets to choose it. You just got to maneuver to a certain ending. They have to wrap it up.
Yep. Yeah, the story, man, was just amazing. Unbelievable story. So much fun.
Yeah, and the multiplayer online, I still play it. Fantastic. Um, okay, so what sports have influenced your training? I know you said you played basketball, and you also had a black belt in Taekwondo. So tell me a little
Yes.
about how does, because I've always imagined that martial arts it's very you're, I guess, in the way we've always kind of seen it with Bruce Lee, it's patience, it's waiting, it's power and grace. So how does that influence how you strength train?
It's a really good question. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of focus and a lot of I don't know what the word is. Yeah, focus like people call Zen or like meditation. I really try to get in my zone when I'm in the gym, if that makes sense. So I don't really talk to people too much. kind of put my earphones in and, a hat on if I can and try to keep my head down and just work. But I find that, especially if it's a big lift or something I'm going for, I'll just kind of sit there for a minute and really focus on what I'm about to do and try to visualize it before. And, you probably hear about things like that with fights or athletes, but, even in the gym, it helps me a lot. If I'm going for something like a 1 rep max or something that I know is going to be challenging, if I take a little bit to just kind of calm myself down, breathe, and really focus on it, I find I do a lot better with it. And that's something I got from martial arts.
Okay, so that quiet focus and the ability to kind of pull everything in and explode with power.
Right. Versus getting all, psyched up and slapping yourself and throwing chalk everywhere. I tend to be more quiet and, just really channel all my energy.
Okay. That's an approach I might have to try. I usually kind of pump myself up and talk to myself a little and look like a weirdo, but
different things for different people. I'm more of a quiet person, so that approach has never really worked for me.
Okay. What is your favorite cheat food? And I know that the answer has to be yes, it is crab cakes, and I have a healthy crab cake recipe.
Oh, it's not. I love crab cakes. My favorite cheat food, I'm gonna say I don't like sweets that much, but Cinnabon is probably my favorite food.
Oh.
But normal food, like pizza and wings. I like fried food.
Pizza and wings. Okay. And do you have, because you're from Maryland, I'm assuming you've got like a healthy crab cake recipe.
No. I've never really made crab. I like crab cakes, but no, not enough to try and make them at home.
Okay.
I'd rather eat crabs, honestly, like Maryland crabs, than make it into a cake and eat that. I like crabs better.
I'm with you on that. I love crabs.
So nothing like crab cakes, but crabs are where it's at.
So going back a little, this is kind of a silly question, but you can laugh and whatever. But I know you trained for a while at the Under Armour Center. Talk a little bit about what you learned there. And my main question is the uniform at the Under Armour Center mandatory tight shirts that show off your abs?
No, it's not. I think some of them want it to be, but it's not. No, in terms of what I learned, it really brought together everything I learned in college. So, with the kinesiology program, you take a lot of very in-depth classes on physiology, nutrition, and functional anatomy, things like that. But those months I spent there, I think what really made me the trainer that I am today. I learned so much about working with clients and programming, and so much from the staff and experience there that I don't think that if I hadn't had that internship, I don't think I'd be anywhere near as good of a trainer as I am today. And I know I'm not saying I'm the best trainer. I have a long way to go, but they are just amazing there, and they really taught me a lot. Drastically changed my training career. So great coaches there.
Cool. Awesome. I totally just said cool again. One of my listeners is going to point that out to me and just laugh. What is the guilty pleasure song on your workout mix that you would never tell anyone in public is on the mix?
Oh boy. I feel like I need to look. Man, that's tough. You know what? I have a lot of songs that are kind of like, the hard rock songs, like hip hop get you pumped up, but I'm a really big fan of like emo, like pop punk. So I have some Weezer songs on there.
Nice.
Things that people probably wouldn't hear on a workout playlist. So I'm gonna go the song "Only One" by Yellow Card is on my lifting playlist right now. It's kind of a sappy love song by a punk band, but I love it.
I dug on some Yellow Card back in the day.
Yeah.
Any band that's gonna name themselves after like a soccer thing, I'm totally down for. Unless someone named themselves David Beckham's fan club or something, then I might be a little. So I want to talk about an article that I laughed at, and I have to admit, Matt, I'm sorry, I broke some of these commandments, but your top 10 commandments for like gym etiquette. Or top 10 common gym mistakes. I have to say I'm at fault for maybe 4 to 5 of those. Yeah.
I think we all are.
So was that a joke post, or did you like just one day get really mad because you're like, bro, put the weights back?
That's basically what it was. Yeah, it was definitely one of those. I'm like frustrated. needed something to write about. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna write about things that I see in the gym every day that kind of bother me. Yeah,
Okay. And
not a good story.
are
Just
you
got
getting
angry.
a lot of good reviews and feedback from your writing that keeps you going? Because I did notice, you do write sporadically, not like every day or every
Right.
week.
Um, I'm sorry. Do I get good reviews?
I mean, like, are you getting good feedback on it? I know.
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
blogging is such an interesting thing for anyone in the fitness world, but it's a great way. There's so much out there that it really is hard to get new content or new ideas.
yeah.
Um, but it's just something you got to kind of keep pushing and chugging along at, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I don't get a ton of traffic to my site. I get a lot of feedback on the articles I write for other places. That's honestly where most interaction comes from, and most people coming to my site find me because I've written for other places. So you can look on my blog. I don't really get comments on my articles too much. So sometimes when I share them, people will make a comment like on Facebook or something. But in terms of feedback, that's usually on other sites. So like when I had that post like on bodybuilding.com, for example, there was like pages and pages and pages of comments. And it was mostly good, but I don't really get that kind of feedback on my personal site, so I don't know. Hopefully, the people who read it like it. I'm assuming they do if they read it.
Okay. And to talk about your site a little bit, you do have it's the athleticphysique.com where people can find you,
Yes.
and learn a little bit about your coaching and get a little info on your blog. But you also have a free supplement guide. So, what supplements do you use or do you recommend? Because I know it's one of those things where that is probably the biggest thing people are hounded at. It's like, I got to get this and I got to get that and I got to get this and I got to get
Yeah.
that, but not everything is necessary.
Yeah, that's that. I have people all the time in the gym come up and ask me about certain supplements, or is this good, or is that good. So in terms of what I take or recommend, I mean, really basic stuff. I think fish oil is pretty good for most people. I like a good greens powder supplement, probably over a multivitamin. Creatine is good. A lot of research backing creatine use.
Right.
And
Right.
besides that, protein powder, maybe if you can't get it from food, and at bare minimum, that's all I really use regularly and recommend to people. And sometimes I'll throw in other things, but a lot of the supplements just are a lot of proprietary blends and things that don't really work, and I think just kind of a waste of your money.
Right. Right. You could put better use to eating whole foods and eating lots of vegetables. Um, so
Yeah.
all right. So my last question is kind of a fun one here. We'll
Okay.
end the podcast before I let you talk a little bit about your class and what you're looking for. If you could be one Marvel superhero, who would it be?
Man, that's a hard question.
I gotta ask because
Um,
yesterday's reveal of all the movies, dude. I've been on a geek high for like
yeah,
24
that's
hours.
unbelievable. Very excited. If I could be anyone, man, I think Captain America is my favorite. Especially like the Avengers group.
Plus seven again, Matt. Plus seven again on my awesome scale.
Thank you.
That's
It's hard. I like them all, but he's my favorite.
yeah.
Just seems like a good guy. He's a good leader.
I
He
love Cap. Cap is definitely my favorite as well.
yeah.
All right, I didn't know if maybe you might say, you know what, Hulk? Why not? I want to be the biggest and
Uh,
the strongest. I'll go with the Hulk.
but you know what
Um,
though? Captain America seems like the brains. He's the nice guy. I
yeah.
just feel like that's the only one I would ever be close to being. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So as we end here, let the listeners know a little bit about what they can expect with your post diet. Um, what is it? What do you call it? Post
Uh,
diet strength training
right.
with Matt Dustin over on Fitocracy.
So it's basically going to be the focus is going to be on the macros and the food. So there's going to be workouts in place. Different workouts for different phases. All like we talked about earlier, based around strength training. Gaining some muscle, really pushing yourself, with some conditioning thrown in, because I think that's important. Especially in terms of getting your metabolism going. A lot of some high intensity training thrown in, but the focus is going to be on the diet. So every week we're going to have check-ins. I have spreadsheets I use to track where we do pretty much a daily macro log, and we see trends over time. So you have your assigned macros for the week. You log how well you hit them, and you do a weigh-in. You take your body weight once a week, And so pretty much week to week, we'll be reviewing that, checking in, updating it if needed, trying to bring your metabolism up, like you talked about earlier. So, probably every week or every other week, you'll get a little bump in your calories. We'll let that stabilize itself out and see what happens. And, you're going to be doing the workouts. But that's the focus of this one, is a lot of attention to the diet. We'll talk about different strategies to adhere to your diet, different tricks you can use, things like that. But the workouts are going to be pretty basic, strength training, strength building workouts, nothing too complicated there. And a lot of attention on the food.
Okay. And this starts on November 3rd and ends on February 3rd. So do you have some tips and tricks for people that you are going to give in the program for the holidays that you might be able to give out to listeners who might not sign up? That, just for people to watch out for the diet, because Thanksgiving and Christmas are two of the biggest times that people, eat a lot.
I mean, you know what? You can't avoid it. You're gonna eat. You gotta eat. I'd say the biggest thing, if you're gonna go to like a Christmas dinner or a Thanksgiving dinner, maybe eat a little bit less during the day, and get a workout in the day of or the day after, but just don't turn it into a whole weekend or a whole day, because I've done that in the past for sure.
Right.
Where I'll go to like a big family dinner, and then the next day I'm like, I'm just gonna eat the leftovers because it's still the holidays. Try to keep it to one meal if you can. But really, just relax, enjoy yourself, spend time with your friends and family. It's holidays, but the most practical thing I would say is if you're gonna have a huge meal, just eat a little bit less during the day. Maybe eat a lot of veggies, some lean proteins, and save all your carbs and fat for all the fun stuff you're gonna eat later. That's what I do. That's what I tell people.
All right.
Gain weight. And you know what? On mine, we're trying to get your calories up anyway, so it's okay. Just eat, enjoy it.
Right. So just one more thing I got to ask, because I did notice, what's the tattoo and what's the meaning?
Oh, the tattoo. So the tattoo on my inner arm is actually written in Greek, and it says "faithful until death," which is part of a Bible verse.
Okay.
So yeah, I've always been really into Greek religious, culture, and got this tattoo a while ago. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if people are interested in you, Matt, they can go to Fitocracy and sign up for the post-diet strength program. But if they also want to find you elsewhere, where can they find you online?
So my website, you mentioned the athleticphysique.com. I'm also on Facebook. It's facebook.com/theathleticphysique is my fan page. Or you can just friend me on there, Matt Dustin. That's cool. You can find me on Facebook. And Twitter, it's Matthew Dustin. My whole name is spelled out because Matt was taken. I probably use Twitter the most, so find me on Twitter.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, we had a great time here with Matt. Matt, definitely want to thank you for coming on the show. If you want to find him, again, find him on Twitter at Matthew Dustin, correct?
Yes.
Matthew Dustin. You can find him on Facebook. Again, online at his website at theathleticphysique.com. And please subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us a review. That helps us move up the ranks, helps us get seen by more people so more people can enjoy the SideQuest podcast. Like us on Facebook, SideQuest Podcast. Check us out on Twitter as well, SideQuest FM, and the same SideQuest FM for Instagram, because that's where I'm at. So, Matt, I want to thank you again for coming on, and good luck with the program. And I look forward to seeing some great results on Fitocracy.
Thank you so much.